once you're finished your blocking and exercise, you can go back and begin to really refine your shapes and make them look as much like the picture as possible. So at this point, I would be going back in and I would really be trying to get the shape of every object exactly the way I want it to appear. And one of the things that you got to keep in mind here is a gesture is only a guide, or a blocking and step is only your guide. It is not your final. You can make changes to it if need be. So this is the point in time where you would make those changes. All right, so I'm going to also put in details as I see them. Okay, so this guy has pattern on it, or a detail on it. And this line doesn't exist. It's more of a gentle curve. All right, this line is not there. You can see inside this cup a little bit more than I drew in the beginning. I can also see a handle peeking out. This apple is a little shaped more like this, very fat. Okay, can you see that I'm now just reshaping and fixing my drawing so that my final more closely represents what I'm actually seeing in my still life. Okay, once you get everything refined and you've gotten all the things drawn back in where they need to go, you are going to start drawing in highlights, anywhere you might see a highlight, anywhere you might see a shadow, anywhere you might see a reflection of something. Okay, on every object in this drawing, I'm going to be doing that. So. Once you've got this done, then you can move on to starting to shade. And I'm not going to do this whole thing for you on camera because it's going to be a while. Drawing a still life takes time. The blocking and step is much faster, but once you get to the point where you're starting to refine everything, it really does take a while. So after I've gotten everything refined and I figured out where I want everything, all my highlights, my shadows, my reflections, all of that stuff has been drawn in, I can then start going through and I can add my local tone. Okay, and what that means is I'm going to start my shading process. So right now, all of these apples are roughly the same color, and if I were to translate that into a black and white image, and I were to try to draw that in black and white, I would prefer something that looks like this as my image. So I'm going to start out by giving pencil grays to all of my apples, and I would say it's like a light to medium gray for all of these apples. And so I start placing the light to medium grays in. Okay. This guy is going to be darker. Okay, because he's in the back. So I'm gonna shade him a little darker than I shade the other ones. Okay. These are going to be the darkest thing in my picture. So I'm going to make sure that I get those as dark as I possibly can with pencil gray. Okay, and if I see a highlight, I want to leave that highlight out. I actually missed these two because they're so small. Okay, I'll leave those highlights out and go around them. Okay, leaving a little space where the highlight is. Oh, there's a big highlight right there. My goodness. Okay, so I'm going to outline where the highlight is. Okay, color in around that highlight. Leave the space for the highlight. And then at the very end, that highlight is slightly colored in, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm going to go through and I'm going to do this with every object. I'm going to shade it as I see it, and I'm going to use what I have with my pencil grays to translate those colors to each object. I want to say this guy has two little highlights down here. So if you happen to miss a highlight, you can always go back and erase and put it in after the fact. That's perfectly okay. Basically, this is what you're doing for this project. And you're going to do the entire drawing that way.